Assalamu alaikum wa ahlan wa sahlan bikum. In this lesson, we are going to speak about the three kinds of la in Arabic. Firstly, we're going to speak about la nafiya or la of negation or particle of negation, as in I don't do something or he doesn't do something. The second one, the imperative la, which is a particle of jazm, whereby you're giving an order or a request, as in don't do something. The third one, la of absolute negation, or la of quittance, or categorical negative la. La nafiya lil jins, and we'll come to that in detail later on. Firstly, how do we actually write la, writing of la? So la basically has different handwritings, slightly different because Arabic is a cursive type of handwriting. So how you write it depends on the font or your handwriting, but generally speaking, you will find that the alif is in a dagger-like position. So you start by drawing the lam, and have the shape of a little bow tie down there, and then go up with the alif, or you can draw the lam over here and then put the alif over here, so always in a diagonal dagger-like position, or as in this shape. So 3 examples over here, and maybe this traffic sign will help you remember the shape of la. The first kind of la is the la of negation, la nafiya. So it's used basically to express that a verb has not occurred or to negate its happening or occurrence. For example, أنا أحب الحلويات. I like sweets. So you're going to negate the sentence. You simply add la. أنا لا أحب الحلويات. I don't like sweets. So we just inserted la over here. And notice that it doesn't have any declension value. لا محل لها من الإعراب. So it's not going to affect the grammatical case of the verb or word that comes after it. Okay, and typically after this la is a present tense verb in the nominative case. So لا أحب, so with a dhamma, that is in the nominative case. أنا أشرب القهوة في الصباح. I drink coffee in the morning. أنا لا أشرب القهوة في الصباح. I don't drink coffee in the morning. An example from the Holy Book of the Quran. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما آتاها. لا يكلف. So Allah does not charge a soul except according to what He has given it, or He does not give anyone more responsibility than what they can take. So لا يكلف. Notice there is no change in the case ending. So present tense verb has a dhamma. Now we put la in front of it. That doesn't change the case ending. Let's practice. حول هذه الجمل إلى جمل منفية. Change these sentences from the affirmative to the negative using لا. سامي يمارس الرياضة. سامي يمارس الرياضة. سامي exercises, basically يمارس الرياضة. So pause the screen and think of your answers. سليم يذهب إلى الجامعة. سليم goes to university. سليم يذهب إلى الجامعة. زينب تقرأ الصحيفة. She is reading the newspaper. زينب تقرأ الصحيفة. So we basically want to say Zainab is not reading the newspaper. علي يعمل في شركة. He works in a company. علي يعمل في شركة. What you need to do is put la in front of the present tense verb, and remember that there's no change in the i'rab or in the case ending of the present tense verb. Pause the screen, take your time, write down your answers, and we're going to check them soon. Here are the answers. سامي لا يمارس الرياضة. سليم لا يذهب إلى الجامعة. زينب لا تقرأ الصحيفة. علي لا يعمل في شركة. The imperative لا ناهية, a jussive particle. With this type of imperative or prohibitive لا, you're basically giving a request or asking someone not to do something using لا. أنت تجلس, you are sitting. لا تجلس, don't sit. Notice that it changes the verb from the nominative ending with the dhamma vowel to the sukun. So from أنت تجلس to لا تجلس. So the verb will end in sukun. However, when a verb ends in a vowel which as in an alif or a waw or a ya, for example, the verb دعا يدعو, so أنت تدعو مشى يمشي, أنت تمشي رضي يرضى, أنت ترضى. So they end with vowels, as you can see highlighted in yellow. Now, when we're going to add the لا تدعو, we're going to imagine we've got a pair of scissors, so we cut the waw over here, لا تدعو. And the last letter assumes the vowel, which is actually close to the vowel that we've cut out. So the dhamma actually looks like the waw, doesn't it? So the u and the long vowel u, لا أنت تدعو لا تدعو. So it takes a dhamma. أنت تمشي, you walk, لا تمشي. So that's going to take a kasra, which goes really nicely with the ya. So the I and the I. أنت ترضى, that's an alif, لا ترضى. So we're going to put a fatha, and we omitted the vowels at the end. So the vowels are gone. في حالة الجزم, in the jussive case, when we are using the prohibitive لا. So the verb enters the jussive mood. So when we use لا with what we call the 5 verbs, الأفعال الخمسة, so the noon is omitted at the end. So الأفعال الخمسة, what we mean is anything like أنتِ تفعلين ends with the noon, أنتم تفعلون, أنتما تفعلان, هم يفعلون, هما يفعلان. So these are the 5 verbs. But obviously when you're giving an order, you're not addressing the third person. That's why I've graded it out, because it's not applicable here. You're not going to address someone who's not present, as in they. So you're not going to address them. So you're obviously addressing always you when you're asking someone to do or not to do something. So for example, أنتِ تشربين, which is like أنتِ تفعلين, same pattern. لا تشربي, the noon is gone. لا تشربي. أنتم تفعلون, أنتم تشربون. لا تشربوا, the noon is gone. So again, we took out the same scissors and we're cutting out the noon. أنتما تفعلان, in the dual, you are both doing something. أنتما تشربان, you are drinking. لا تشربا, don't drink. So again, we're cutting off the noon. So to review, when we use la with the present tense verb, it changes to the jussive case and it takes a sukun. If the verb ends in a vowel, we're going to remove that vowel and we're going to put the appropriate haraka or vowel at the end, short vowel at the end. For example, لا تدعو, لا تمشي, لا ترضى. So matching the vowel over here. So for the waw, dhamma, for the ya, kasra, الألف المقصورة over here فتحة in these examples. And when we have what we call الأفعال الخمسة or the 5 verbs, we're going to omit the noon at the end. So لا تشربي, لا تشربوا, لا تشربا. A practical example regarding emergency exit. مخرج الطوارئ. انتبه ولا تتجاهل مخرج الطوارئ. So انتبه, that means pay attention or beware. And notice anytime we're asking a request or giving a command in Arabic in the imperative, so the verb is going to take sukoon as well. And when we use لا, don't, لا تتجاهل, don't ignore. So we're going to put sukoon as well. Don't ignore the emergency exit. So انتبه, imperative tense with sukoon ending. لا, imperative لا الناهية, also a jazm particle. تتجاهل, the verb is in the jussive tense with sukoon ending. An example from the holy book of the Quran. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. لا تؤاخذنا, don't impose blame upon us, or don't blame us. لا تؤاخذ, notice the sukoon. The na over here is the object pronoun, which is us. ولا تحمل علينا, so don't lay on us a burden. لا تحمل علينا إصرا, a burden. ولا تحملنا, and don't burden us. لا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به, what we cannot bear or what we do not have the ability to bear. So notice again sukoon, sukoon, sukoon when the verb is preceded by the لا الناهية. Let's practice. أدخل لا الناهية على الجمل التالية. So you have to change the sentences to basically don't do something. So from مارس الرياضة, exercise. Normally we would put a sukoon when we're asking a request, but because over here sukoon and al also we're going to have sukoon, so there's something in Arabic what we call منعا لالتقاء الساكنين, prevention of two sukoons meeting. So we put a kasra over here. The sound assimilates مارس الرياضة instead of مارس الرياضة. So the sound assimilates مارس الرياضة. So that's the reason why there's a kasra over here. I've purposely put this example just so that you're aware of it. سافر إلى مصر, travel to Egypt. We want to say don't travel to Egypt. Again, pause the video, take your time to write your answers, and then we're going to check them together. اقرأ جريدة النهار. So read the newspaper called النهار. There's a newspaper actually called النهار. اشرب عصير البرتقال. Drink orange juice. Let's check the answers. لا تمارس الرياضة. So again, سكون, but we changed it to كسرة because we have L over here. So لا تمارس الرياضة. سافر إلى مصر. لا تسافر إلى مصر. Don't travel to Egypt. لا تقرأ جريدة النهار. لا تشرب عصير البرتقال. And now law of absolute negation. لا نافية للجنس. And now law of absolute negation, or what we call لا النافية للجنس. لا تلميذ كسول. So basically, no student is lazy. There is no student whatsoever. So you're basically negating that any student is lazy, because maybe you want to explain that students will have problems, maybe they're not understanding, maybe they have issues at home, and so on. So what I'd like you to focus on is that both the subject of la over here and the predicate are indefinite, and there's no separation between la and the word after it or its subject. And in this case, it's basically acting like the annulment or accusative particles of inna and its sisters. So inna and its sisters change a nominal sentence whereby the subject changes from the nominative case to the accusative case. And la also does the same thing when we use it in this context. So this is a nominal sentence. We have a subject and we have a predicate. We use la over here, and both of them are in the indefinite case. The vowel over here changes to fatha. لا تلميذ كسول. So one fatha. لا تلميذ كسول. No student is lazy. An example from the Holy Quran. لا إكراه في الدين. There shall be no compulsion in acceptance of the religion or in religion. لا إكراه. So notice لا followed by its subject, accusative case, one fatha over here, and the predicate can be over here a prepositional phrase, في الدين. So nothing is between la and its subject. Just like in English, no compulsion. You're not gonna put any word in between. So similar to English, and the noun has to be indefinite. So you're not gonna say, for example, no, the student is lazy, or no, the compulsion, or something like that. So it has to be indefinite. That makes more sense, that is. Another example, ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. لا ريب. So this is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those conscious of Allah. So no doubt. So لا ريب. So again, لا followed by its subject takes a fatha. There's no separation between la and its subject and in the indefinite case. And then you have here a prepositional phrase after it. Notes to remember. لا تلميذ كسول. So no student is lazy. So la always comes before an indefinite noun and not a verb, obviously, when we're using it within this context. So it's used with a nominal sentence and not a verbal one. The subject and the predicate are both indefinite nouns, as you've noticed. There is no separating word between between la, that is, and its subject. La is used to negate the meaning of the preposition absolutely, categorically, or completely. So just as we mentioned earlier, there is no doubt, لا ريب whatsoever. So what I'm telling you is truth. So that's why in this sense it's similar to inna, because it has what we call tawqid. So we're affirming or double affirming what we're trying to say. So in this sense it negates its kind, or what we call jins. That's why we call it la nafiya lil jins. So absolute negation. It behaves like inna and its sister, so it changes the subject from the nominative case to the accusative case, as we've mentioned. So the subject will take the fatha vowel, and it keeps the predicate in the nominative case without any change. I've got another example here, so you can add an annexed noun, so you can have مضاف and مضاف إليه. لا تلميذ مدرسة كسول. So no school student basically is lazy. More examples. لا طفل نائم. No child whatsoever. So I'm categorically negating that whatsoever. No child is asleep. Notice لا immediately followed by its subject, no separation, fatha vowel. Predicate is not affected. So nominal sentence, and لا is affirming what we're saying, just like in Nana's sisters. لا طفل في البيت, so we can have a prepositional phrase as well. So that's just an additional example. Now when لا is preceded by a particle of jar, it loses its magical powers basically. So البيت بلا أطفال. And we consider over here, it could be considered as اسم مجرور, and then this is like مضاف إليه. So there are two basically different ways of إعراب, but we're not concerned about going into details. But what I'd like you to know that it's going to be نافية مهملة, which means it doesn't affect pretty much anything. So it loses its powers over here. لا طفل في البيت ولا امرأة. So notice nominative case, nominative case. So when we repeat لا 2 times, when basically we're saying neither nor, it also loses its powers. So the nouns over here stay in the nominative case. There is neither a child at home nor a woman. لا طفل في البيت ولا امرأة. لا أحد في البيت. No one is at home. A good example from the Holy Book of the Quran. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. So neither nor. لا الشمس ولا الليل. So notice over here it stays in the nominative case and over here because we've basically repeated لا. So it is not for the sun to overtake the moon, nor does the night outstrip the day. They all float each in an orbit. النهاية, the end. Hopefully you've enjoyed the lesson. Don't forget to leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And inshallah, see you in the next video. في أمان الله وحفظه ورعايته ومع السلامة.